What's up, everybody? Well, I got another Asus G15 Advantage gameplay video for you guys today, and today we're gonna check out Mafia Definitive Edition again, but this time we're trying 1440p for those of you who have the 1440p model of this laptop. So, just like we did at 1080p, this game is a little older, so we can just kind of hopefully run in there and run it maxed out. At least we could at 1080p, but just because we can at 1080p does not mean we can at 1440, which is why we're doing this test. So, we're gonna try to go in there and do the exact same thing, hope it runs good, as long as it stays above 60, I'm a happy guy, and then we'll just, you know, get some camera recorded gameplay at the end, and then move on to the secondary computer. If it can't hit 60, well then we're just gonna go through all the settings then, fuck it. And then at the end, we'll do the usual, and I'll figure out my setting. But anyway, now that we got all that out of the way, why don't we go hop on into the game, take a very quick look at the settings, and get ourselves some gameplay.
All right, moving on to 1440p here. Before we get into the game though, let's look over the settings we're using. No VSync, maxed out field of view. I turned off depth of field and motion blur here, so that's why it's on custom instead of high. But other than that, the game's on high, maxed out. And there we go, reached the bottom, so into the game we go. All right, here we are in game here at 1440p. And already, immensely smoother running than it was at 1080p. Nah, hell, you might be getting just about the same FPS too. That shit was sometimes going up into the hundreds, but most of the time it was in the 80s and 90s. So we lost a couple FPS, but hell yeah. And we're getting closer to 100% GPU utilization all the time. Still not always there. We drop down in like 96, which can indicate an itsy bitsy teeny weeny bottleneck of the CPU, but not a big deal. If we weren't able to get 60 because of it, then it would be a big deal. But not the case at all. We're in the 80s and 90s. This is fine, at least for me, for a game like this. I wouldn't expect to get like 800 FPS or anything like that. Still teeny tiny little frame time stutters, as you can see on the little graph there, but compared to most modern games, this thing's butter smooth. So, just like we did at 1080p, we'll just walk around for a little bit here, and then we'll get into a car and drive around as well. Because a lot of times in these kind of games, that's where you can really get the lags and the stutters and the really low frames while you're just trying to drive around like a fucking lunatic at like max speed. At least that's how it was in GTA 5 on a lot of stuff. Like, if I was running around like this, I could get 60-ish FPS on like the Steam Deck, for example. But the second I got in a car and went like downtown in the city, or out into like the forest, nope. 30, 40 FPS drops all the time. Like on high settings or whatever. But in the city, just walking around or whatever like this, no problem, it could do it. Might drop down like 56, 57 here and there, but it was doing it. So that's why I want to do the driving around thing too. Plus, driving around like a lunatic's fun. I mean, that's half of what you do in games like this in Grand Theft Auto. At least that's what I do. Beat the story and then run around like in free mode like a lunatic, pretty much. And even with this cooling pad, we're still getting super high temps. But that's because I opened it up and put like thermal pads on and all sorts of stuff. So liquid metal is still a little bit better, but I would still hit 96, 97 when I redid liquid metal myself. The best it ever was when it came factory. I should have left it alone, but hey, I'm still glad I made those videos. Well, at least the GPU isn't hitting it at 90 degrees. It would do that sometimes without the cooling pad, so it's still helping a little. Not so much on the CPU anymore, but the CPU used to get help. It used to go down in like the 80s, like 87, 86. Some things would push it up to 90 or whatever still for like a split second, but for the most part, that's what it used to get. Now, not so much, but still better than not using it, I would say. Man, this thing is squeaky. But I mean, I guess it is an old truck, so why wouldn't it be? And I feel like in real life it probably would have rolled there, but hey, it's a video game, so fuck it. We'll take it.
Go back to patrols. We'll get him next time.
That's what you think. You'll never get me. Not ever. But you know, we're still getting about the same kind of frame times, even driving around. Same FPS too. So I guess let's try to head down into like the deepest part of the city over here with all the skyscrapers and whatnot. I feel like that'll probably be the lowest FPS we get. And we're still in the 80s. Well, cops sitting there. Ooh. All we got around, all we hit was a frickin' meter. I'd rather hit the meter than frickin' slam into the car at like whatever 45 I was going in a big old truck. These trucks aren't exactly Ferraris after all. They don't handle that good. Or stop that good, or accelerate that good. All they're really good for is hauling that stuff. They are haulers. I kind of wonder. I wonder how much horsepower a car like this would have had back then. Hanging Yui here. Well, now let's just go this way. Thinking about turning around, but nah, decided not to. Ooh. We almost got T-boned, but we dodged it. Ooh, almost hit that pole, but nope, not quite. I got out of it somehow. Ooh, my back tire hit him though. Keep forgetting this thing's a dually. It's extra wide. Just because your front end can fit through somewhere doesn't mean your back end can. Alright, let's pull on over here and move on to camera.
Well, alright guys, let's get ourselves a little camera recorded gameplay now. And I'm not gonna lie, 1440p is way smoother than 1080p in this particular kind of game. But, like I always tell you guys, I never got this thing to really play games like this on it. It was more for, like, esports and first-person shooters, fighting games, stuff where high resolution doesn't really matter as much, and you just want high FPS. Well, not even fighting games. All fighting games are locked at 60. You don't need high resolution for that, or high FPS screen anyway. So it's mostly just for the first-person shooter stay for house, really. But, just like we did on the screen recorded portion, we'll just run around for just a small amount of time here, then we'll hop into a car and drive around, because I feel like that gets us, you know, if the game is going to lag or stutter and have to pre-cache and do a bunch of bullshit while you drive around and make the game a bad experience, well, that's probably what's going to happen if you drive around. But we'll see what happens. It was pretty stuttery, not super stuttery when we were doing 1080p, but it definitely didn't seem like the line of frame times was quite this smooth. But then again, maybe I'm just misremembering. Oh wow, 2 trolleys at once? I wonder if I can steal a trolley. Ugh. Hey, I'm walking here! Well, we're definitely getting a lot more GPU utilization now, that's for sure.
right, we're pretty close to that 3-minute mark, so why don't we hop on in and steal this car. By the time we get in and get it started, it'll pretty much be 3 minutes. Yep, pretty much right on the fucking dot. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Fuck you, my truck's the fastest truck in the universe. Oh, holy shit, that motorcyclist almost died. I almost didn't even see him. Aha, I've gotten away from the cops. Take that, coppers! Oops. I tried to dodge you, but you literally both went like the worst possible way. Alright, well let's get the fuck out of here. I guess that's a dead end. Can't go that way.
All cars, pursuit is called off. Abandon search and return to patrols.
Hell yeah. Nothing like drifting a frickin' 1930s car. Well, pickup truck in this case. Damn thing struggles to do 60 miles an hour. Get skinny. Alright, I think that's enough camera gameplay, so let's go ahead, park our car, and let's go wrap this video on up.
Well, alright guys, that is a wrap for Mafia Definitive Edition, and it handled it just fine at 1440. Got a little bit less FPS, but honestly, I think the frame times were even smoother. It was a more consistent FPS. But it's kind of cool that it played just fine. It's a little older game, figured it would, but somebody requested it, so I figured I would oblige. So now that we got the laptop out of the way, I figured why don't we see how this thing runs on the secondary and primary computer too, just for fun. They should easily be able to play this game. But how many more FPS will they get than this thing? That's what I like showing off. Like, half the time they get higher FPS graphics settings, but they all are around the same FPS half the time. But anyway, that is about all I got for this particular video. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, because I sure as hell enjoyed making it for you guys. And until the next video, peace out, guys.